100 episodes.
Very, yeah.
Guys. Congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
cool.
I know we've been grinding.
Yeah. Every
Thank you for
Sunday.
having me.
Thank you for being here. Honestly, like we're so honored and appreciative that you are taking your time out of your busy schedule to be here. So
Yeah.
I'm very happy to be. I might be a little tired because we had a show last night and got home this morning, but it's all good. It's all good. We're still on the West Coast right now, so I don't really have an excuse.
Oh, okay. That's valid though.
Yeah.
So if you want to kind of introduce yourself in case for some reason our subscribers don't know you, but
I'm the collision ring announcer at AEW. And I've been there for about a year now, just over a year. And I started off doing backstage interviews as well. Started off at SoCal Pro, as you guys know. Woohoo! So I mean, I've been doing the ring announcing now on Collision for about 6 months. I absolutely love it. Finally kind of found my place, I feel like, in wrestling. Tried a few different things. And I'm loving it so far.
Can you explain kind of how you got started with ring announcing and like what put you on this career path?
Yeah. I started out trying to wrestle. That was the first goal in wrestling. Yes. It wasn't for me, but I tried it and I stuck with it for like a decent amount of time. And I took a break from wrestling for a while. I got into it because I was watching Total Divas, Tough Enough, all that stuff back in like 2014, 2015.
Very nice.
And I grew up acting, doing musical theater, plays, and sports. So I was like, this is like a cool combo of all of that.
Yeah.
And after the wrestling and like managing didn't really work out, I took a few years off. And then our son kind of got interested in watching wrestling. And so I reached out to Jeff and Jonathan at SoCal Pro, I guess not this past summer, but the summer before that, and asked if they would want me to come and do backstage interviews just for fun, not really thinking it would go anywhere. And it spiraled really quick, and I landed at AEW, and they needed a ring announcer, so I'm so happy to be there. Yeah.
That's so awesome. I didn't know that you had tried wrestling first. I feel like all of us kind of have that itch at some point, like women who are wrestling fans, like, but you know, sometimes you have to realize this isn't for me.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Did you guys wrestle?
No.
Or try? No.
No.
I've always wanted to try.
I mean, I thought about it. I thought about
it's worth
trying to go to SoCal Pro, but I'm like,
maybe next month, Mary. We'll see.
Oh my gosh, that would be a fun episode.
Yeah.
That would be a good episode, yeah.
Just us trying to take a bump.
I applaud them, and I think I actually really appreciate having done it because I think it gives me a good appreciation of what they do in the ring. And you know, it's brutal. I mean, it's fascinating to watch, but it's really brutal on your body, and it's not an easy career path. So I'm in awe of everyone who is making their way as a wrestler. I think it's phenomenal.
Yeah, for sure. Also, by the way, happy belated birthday. I saw that it was your birthday this month, at the beginning of the month, right?
Yeah, yep. And it landed on a collision date, so that was fun.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You celebrated at work.
Yes, exactly.
Well,
but yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Is it hard kind of being on the road during those types of things, like Christmas, birthdays?
Right. Yeah, you know, I think as far as the holidays go, I've been really lucky that we don't work on Christmas or anything like that. But it's always hard. I mean, being on that, I think that is the toughest part of the job, no matter what stage you're at in wrestling, whether it's the indies or AEW, WWE, all these companies, like the travel and what you put in behind the scenes is the hardest part. And I think once I'm there, and in it, it's of course so much fun. It really is living a dream. It's the travel to and from where you're missing home and family and stuff like that. But luckily, my friends at AEW, Lexi and I like threw a little birthday, and so she made it really special and fun. And my husband sent flowers, so it was a really nice day. Like everyone made it really special and really nice. And I do love working. It's not like I'm like, oh, I should go to work, on my birthday.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty awesome birthday. Yeah.
Oh.
Well, I mean, because like it's not a typical job, and so
Right.
when people ask you, what do you do? Is it hard to explain, or do you just kind of say,
Yeah,
I'm on TV?
Our landlord was just asking. He's like, "What do you do again?"
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to, explain. But I think once in a while you'll meet somebody who knows about wrestling, or I mean, obviously there's ring announcers in MMA, boxing, all those sports as well.
Yeah.
So I think ring announcing is maybe a little bit easier to explain in backstage interviews. But yes, I've definitely run into like, how do I explain what I do? And and people always find it really crazy that we travel 52 weeks a year. They think it's like we're in a season for a certain amount of time. And I'm like, no, it's 52 weeks a year. Like we're always going. So yeah. But, also any other job, you're working 5 days a week or whatever it is. So it's a lot, but there's trade-offs with everything, right? Pros and cons for all different kinds of stuff.
Maddie, did you have a question for her?
So I love AEW. Like I'm on this show, I'm the AEW girl because Mary Mary likes AEW, but she's still trying to branch out a little more. So is there anything like about AEW that you were just kind of gravitated towards specifically in terms of like wanting to work there, or did it just kind of happen? Like what was kind of the story there?
Yeah, I felt when I was having my tryouts there, because I went a couple weeks in a row, I really felt like the atmosphere backstage and with the girls in the locker room and the way that production and staff, like the way everyone was treating me and treating each other, I really fell in love with the atmosphere. And I remember talking with my husband just about all the possibilities, like where I could end up, what opportunities might come, and where I felt the most comfortable. And I just felt a sense of comfort at AEW. And also it felt like a really good place for me to come in and learn. They are newer and they're growing, and that's kind of where I'm at. Like I'm very new to this and growing, and it felt like a really good fit. It felt like, like where I was kind of supposed to be on this journey, and I feel like that's only grown, and those relationships and friendships and getting to know the people I work with backstage, like that's grown, and that was initially what drew me to it, though. The people. I remember telling my husband I feel really comfortable there, and I feel really valued, and it's not like I could compare it to something else and be like I didn't feel that anywhere else, because obviously I didn't have that experience, but just being there felt right. Yeah. And that's also, it's where the best wrestle. Come on. Like, who doesn't want to be there?
There you go. You guys heard it here. There you go.
Did they ask you if you had like, kind of like an interviewing background or like anything like that?
Yeah. Actually, so when I was trying wrestling many years ago, 8 years ago or something, Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler were at my tryout.
Oh.
And they were so encouraging, like couldn't have asked for better people to be helping like a group of people who didn't know what they were doing in the ring or outside of the ring. They were so kind and gracious. And they saw when I went back to SoCal Pro the previous summer, they saw that I was trying to get back into wrestling and doing interviews. So they helped me get my foot in the door. And when I got there, Mike Mansuri, he's been the person that's really helped me out with this journey and like given me a shot. And yeah, he asked and they saw videos of what I had done. And I don't want to speak for them, but I think they saw that I was like hungry and willing to learn. And I think that's such a huge thing. It is really hard when people have maybe been in the business for a long time too, to be willing to learn from other people and to be willing to take advice. I mean, that goes for any job, but I really have like a hunger for knowledge and learning from people that are better than me and have done this longer than me. So I think, I know I wasn't like the greatest, and I'm still not the greatest or anything, but I know I wasn't like leaps and bounds above everyone else, but I am really hungry to learn and So,
do you have any like inspirations in terms of other ring announcers, or like, is there anybody you kind of draw that inspiration from when you're doing it?
Yeah, I think of course, I think there's a fine line. For me, everyone has their own method. I don't want to speak for anyone else. For me, I think there's a fine line between studying and like being a student of the game, which I think everyone has to do. Like I watch multiple products. I'm always keeping an eye on everything and an ear on everything. But I also don't want to imitate anyone else.
Yeah.
Which I think can be tough when you listen to someone over and over again. Naturally, I think, you can do that. I think there probably were times when I started AEW that I was like trying to imitate Justin. And Justin has been a huge, huge inspiration for me. I think not only do I think he's absolutely phenomenal at what he does, but he cares so much. Like he cares so much about the psychology. And there's so many things that go into ring announcing that you wouldn't even think of. I mean, there's the hosting side of it. There's, knowing when a heel comes out in their hometown, do you give them the hometown or not? Because you don't want them to get the pop. There's like all these little psychological things that go into ring announcing, and he really cares and is really willing to share his knowledge. So yeah, he's been a huge inspiration for me. Bobby Cruz is phenomenal. He's been there and he's been super helpful. Of course, Lillian Garcia, when I was first kind of starting to watch wrestling and get into it, how could you not? Alicia Taylor at WWE has been, there's like so many people. And everyone has their own style. And I think that's one thing about ring announcing is like, in the beginning, it's hard to drown out what people say. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone has their favorite style. Some people like really big, louder voices. Some people like a more muted, softer tone. And like, you're not going to please everyone, No. So I think listening and learning from all of them, but not trying to imitate them and finding my own voice has been that's been my big challenge this year. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has their own personality. Like, if you look at Kayla Braxton, like her interviews with people versus Kathy Kelly, like there's clear differences between them. Kathy gets sassy sometimes with these wrestlers.
Yeah, and even like between Renee and Lexi, like when I was doing the backstage, I loved getting to watch both of them because they are so different. And again, both. I know I keep going back to this, but everyone there is so knowledgeable and willing to share that knowledge, which is fantastic. Like Renee was so helpful and Lexi is so helpful every week. And even though we don't necessarily work together anymore, there's still so many ways that our jobs intersect, Yeah. And it's a good environment.
But that's so nice to hear because a lot of times, sometimes in different work environments, there's that competitiveness. There's that like, oh, well, I want to be the top dog, so I don't want you to succeed. Like, so I'm glad to hear that it's not like that and that it's good vibes over there. That makes me feel better.
Yeah. I think there can be like a healthy, I think about this a lot in sports, but when I did Highland Games, I think there should be like a healthy level of desire to succeed and like inside of you, like you should want to and you should try and be the best you can be, but not stepping on other people or hurting other people to get there is really important. And I think my job is a little bit unique because I'm not one of the wrestlers. It's I think I have a little bit of a like removed role from that. I think on the indies, like I experienced what you're talking about. There can be that level of competitiveness or cattiness between people. And it's unfortunate when that happens, but
because those are the people trying to work their way up. So I guess that makes more sense. What would you say is the biggest difference between doing ring announcing on the indies versus a live show?
Yeah, I can't say I worked the indies as a ring announcer. I only did
I thought you did it at SoCal Pro.
Well, at SoCal Pro, I did 2 or 3 before going to AEW. I think it was 2 house shows and then 1 we did at a brewery. So
nice.
Yeah, the difference is I remember the first day that I got to AEW and they handed me a format for TV and I had never seen a format. Like I've never seen how a TV show is run.
Yeah.
And I remember like watching now in hindsight and like it all makes sense and stuff. It's so silly, but I just remember getting that format and seeing like every second is accounted for on TV. There's a format to how the show goes. That was a huge change for me because an indie show is way more relaxed in that sense, right? A match ends, you can go out there. If you want 30 seconds to talk to the crowd or 3 minutes to talk to the crowd, it's up to you. You can take your time. I didn't get a ton of experience, obviously, doing that on the indies, but just the pacing. I think that's the biggest thing. The pacing of a live show versus an indie show is really different. I'm trying to think if there's, TV is, even a taped day when we tape collisions versus live collisions, those are night and day to me too. So there's a lot of, when it's live, it can be very different.
So AEW Collision is obviously AEW's newest show with the addition of Rampage and Dynamite. Was there any because it's so new, something Tony Khan was like really hyping up, and it's great, of course, we expect that. Was there any added pressure of joining that and being like, oh, this is a whole new show, like how is this gonna go? Like how did you feel about going into that?
Yeah, well, when I came in, I started on Dynamite doing some of the backstage stuff. When I got the opportunity to go to Collision, yes, I definitely felt some pressure, that I would be the host and lead ring announcer of that show and wanting it to be really, really good. I think that everyone works because our roster isn't split. So everyone works really well between both shows. There isn't, in my opinion, I don't feel a big divide between Dynamite versus Collision. There's a few people or a few talent maybe that are more on Collision versus Dynamite, but overall, I think everyone there always wants it to be, whether it's Dynamite or Collision, everyone wants it to be the best it can possibly be. So I also came in about, I think, a year after Collision had already been on the air. So it was pretty established, but I think it's always the goal. We're always hoping that we're making good TV and everyone enjoys it at home,
Absolutely.
And were you always a wrestling fan, or was it kind of like a new love?
A new love, yes. An adult love. My
That's
knowledge, my knowledge of, what about you guys? Did you grow up?
Lifelong. Girl, Jonathan's my brother, remember? This is a lifelong journey.
My knowledge of wrestling was, I was a huge, I wanted to be an actress forever. I love movies and TV. So I knew Andre the Giant was in Princess Bride, and I knew he was a wrestler. That was
I forgot about that.
That was pretty much my, and I think I knew a lot of the mainstream, Hulk Hogan and John Cena. But no, I didn't grow up watching it. When I was pregnant with my son was when I started watching. I think that was around the time I was watching Total Divas and Tough Enough. And that was it, clicked for me. I was like, this is really cool. I don't know. I was like, why have I never watched this before? And then AEW wasn't around at the time. Otherwise, I'm sure I would have been watching AEW. But my love for it definitely grew. And when I found a wrestling school, it became very apparent to me that you need to know your history. I think especially when you're training with some of the old school people who worked their way up through the system, if you don't know who was at WrestleMania 3 in the main event, it was stuff like that. I needed to start knowing my history and learning. So that was when I started watching as much as I possibly can and watching all different promotions. I try and do that as much as possible.
Yeah, I mean, especially as women, we unfortunately have to, I don't want to say know more than men, but we have to be knowledgeable or else we're discredited as, oh, you guys aren't real wrestling fans. You don't know who main evented WrestleMania 5. And it's like,
I think it's awesome that you guys are doing this because I feel like there's a need for women in this space. And it's only grown over the years, which is fantastic. But I think having spaces where women feel like you can be a part of it and it's not like a boys thing or whatever, it is fantastic. I love that you guys are doing this together.
Thank you.
And since we are mostly a women's wrestling podcast, I don't want to get you in trouble, but who is your favorite women's wrestler, or who is your favorite person to announce when they come out?
That's a good one. Good way to rephrase that.
Wow, that's a great question. It's a great question. There's certain people, I'll say this, when it comes to announcing with favorites, there's certain people that just have names that I feel like roll off the tongue easier.
Yes.
So like I think like Harley Cameron is a really fun one to say. I think Tony Storm, like, oh, I mean, gosh, I don't know. This is gonna be so hard.
My timeless queen.
And there's also certain people I've done more than others. Like when people ask me my favorite overall, I think like Kazuchika Okada is one of my favorites. His name, to say it, is just so much fun.
Yeah.
Even his moniker, the Rainmaker, like all of it just kind of rolls off the tongue. So when it comes to announcing, that's my favorite. But you know, I feel like if you're asking me my favorite wrestler, I gotta go Timeless Toni Storm right now. I don't know. How can you not? Right?
How can you not? Oh my god.
She's phenomenal. I mean, all of them are phenomenal, but it's so good.
Well, really quick.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Maddie. Go ahead.
Are we doing last one, Mary, or?
Well, ask a question
because
I'm gonna do a slide.
Mary's having technical difficulties over there. So anyway, well, speaking of history making, AEW is obviously a company that's made a lot of history. Coming up, being basically WWE's biggest competitor. What do we got going on here?
I just wanted to go through really quick some photos and kind of have you explain a little bit. I couldn't get an actual photo of you at SoCal Pro, so I took a still from a video. But
we'll come back to the question after this.
Yeah, but how are you feeling that first day of ring announcing?
Okay, I was terrified. In fact, I mean, I credit Jeff so much. Jonathan too, because they asked me Jeff had asked me before to ring announce, and I was like, no, that is not my jam. I was way too nervous to even try it. And on this particular day, the ring announcer couldn't come. And Jeff was like, it will be so easy, just bring cards. You can have fun, like we'll walk you through it. And they did, of course. They always take care of me, and the fans are fantastic. But yes, I'm not sure if I can say swear words on here, but I was terrified in this moment. However, as the night went on, I think I definitely I started to have more fun and find my voice a little bit. But it is really funny going back and thinking about that night.
Yeah.
And then this next picture I pulled up is from This was a lucha show at the Crash, I think, right?
Yes.
And you were a manager for this show, or what's the story?
I was. Well, fun story too is when I was training for wrestling, I was managing at the Crash, and one of the people that I managed was the Beast Mortos. I was one of his for a few shows. It's so funny, and now we're both at AEW. But this was just like a one time. I was kind of doing the ring announcing, getting back into it this past summer, and Brian Cage was booked at the Crash, and so he asked me, or they asked if I wanted to come and manage again, just for old time's sake, and that was really fun. Yeah, that was a cool little throwback.
And girl, let me say, you looking good in this photo.
Period. Respectfully
to your husband.
Yes.
And then this photo is your debut on AEW Rampage.
Yes.
The outfit.
The fit is fitting.
Ladies. Thank you. That was a really, really fun night. They had told me that I was gonna go. I had been doing some Ring of Honor before, after the shows, and some dark matches, and they had told me that I was going to get to do an episode of Rampage. I was really nervous.
Understandable.
Yeah, and Justin was so sweet. He stayed for the entire thing. He sat behind me for the whole show. So every question I had when I was like, do I get in the ring now? What do I do? You know, all these, like, do I talk to the crowd? All that stuff. He stayed there for all the matches, helped me through the night. And I was ecstatic. There's some moments too along this journey, I just wasn't totally confident or sure of myself in this role as a ring announcer. And I feel like there's some nights like this night where I was just like, I can do this if I keep working hard. You know, I can remember a few moments where I'm like, you can do this. You got this, girl. And that was one of them.
It's so funny that you say you're nervous, because this photo just like confidence is oozing from this photo. Like, it just looks like you really belong there. That's what it looks. It just looks so good.
Thank you guys. I think there is something to, like, having anxiety or nerves means you care about something. And I think too, when you are happy doing something, even if I'm nervous, if I'm happy to be there, I feel like that hopefully shows, and shines through a little bit.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Absolutely.
Well, I think this is the last one, but this is from your birthday.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to show this picture because that cake looks delicious.
Good. It was delicious. It was like the lightest, airiest, fluffiest cake. Lexi went and got it, and we just like split it up with all the girls in the locker room and Big Bill. And it was delicious. Yeah.
And the outfit game on point in this picture too. Yes.
Well, that was
love to see it.
Ladies, thank you, ladies.
Always.
The girl, like, that's another fun part of this job. Is
Maddie, if you want to ask your last question.
Yeah, I feel like this is a good one to end on. So again, AEW is obviously a company that's based on making history. Is there any moment where you've been like ring announcing that you felt like was your career defining or history making moment?
That's a great question. I don't know that for me, I felt that. I will say the moment that I think stands out and will stand out for me forever was when Adam Copeland was in the ring in Australia and the crowd was singing. That moment was like, it's so cool to watch it, but feeling it and like seeing him when he turned around and stuff, that was a moment where I was like, this is really freaking cool. Like, this is there's been so many moments too throughout the last year that I feel like, whether I've been a part of it or not, or like, sitting ringside and watching it are fantastic. I hope that answers your question. I'm not sure that I've had that moment yet, but
maybe that's a great answer. Maybe it's yet to come and we'll get to witness it.
Yeah.
It'll be so cool.
Well, again, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. Honestly, this is our biggest interview to date. So I was like so nervous, but you're so lovely.
Oh my gosh. I get nervous on podcasts because I don't know if you guys do this. Sometimes I'm thinking like, what questions might they ask beforehand? And then I'm like, what if I forget to mention someone who's fantastic and amazing and who's helped, like I get so nervous. I'm like, am I going to sit back and replay all the things I said? But I'm really grateful that you guys had me on here. This was very fun. And I love what you guys are doing. Do you want to
plug your socials really quick?
Sure. I think it's the same on all of them. I know it's Arkady, ARKITTYY on Instagram. I think that's on Twitter as well. Or you could search Arkady Aura. I don't.
We'll put the links in the description. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We'll put the links in the description. That'll work.
Yeah.
We will.
Thanks, guys.
Well, I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. And get some rest.
Thank you.
And watch Collision on Saturdays.
Sometime. That would be very fun.
Please.
And good luck.
Yes.
I can't wait to hear you guys are at 200 and 300. Keep going.
Oh my gosh. We'll get there when we get there, girl.
Yeah.
Bye.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Bye.